I went back and forth between the Panthers and Saints, and I know a lot of people believe in the Saints. I'll get to that in a second, but let's talk about the Bucs. Of course, you know, the Bucs are most likely to win this division. Now, I've been saying this for years, but Brady could decline this year. I mean, I don't know. Like the issue with him is that he really, at this point in his career, he has difficulty with pressure. Maybe has the most problems with it right now in the NFL. And that's to be expected, given the fact that he's 45 years old. And the issue with the Bucs is that their offensive line has taken some massive blows, both in terms of free agency departures. They had an interior offensive lineman go to the Bengals, and in terms of injuries. So that is going to leave Brady a bit more vulnerable, but he's still Brady. So he's going to be able to anticipate some of the pressure and give them enough wins to get over the top and win the division. And I think that that's going to be a fairly easy win for the Bucs. At the very least, I see them making the playoffs in an NFC that's fairly weak. Now, the Saints, I know that they feel like they're ready to compete now, and they do have some nice pieces. Their offensive line is still pretty good. They have some pieces on the defensive line, although someone like Marcus Davenport's totally up and down. So I don't really know what I'm going to get out of their defense on a week-to-week basis. But, you know, and Jameis is also incredibly up and down.
He's so polarizing. He's so, like, mercurial.
Yeah, and I like, he can make the most amazing throw you've ever seen, and then he can make the dumbest decision you've ever seen. And
sometimes almost in the same play.
And we know kind of what he is at this point, in my opinion. And he's going to frustrate you, and he might win you some games, but he's going to lose you some games too. And so I was really back and forth between the Saints and the Panthers. The thing that made me say the Saints are going to finish second in this division is because of the coaching staff in Carolina. Like, I just do not have confidence in Matt Rule. I think he's probably the first coach to get fired, given David Tepper's proclivities. The fact that he's openly on the hot seat for sure. And Ben McAdoo is the offensive coordinator.
Oh, I mean, it's like it's bizarro. Like it's actually
they couldn't get anyone else to work for them.
I really think that's probably the case, because Matt Rule, I don't know what Matt Rule has shown to earn another shot at this job, aside from drafting people he coached in college or making extremely hackneyed and strange Jay-Z references to justify keeping his job.
You know why he still has his job? It's because he got paid so much record-breaking money by this like very aggressive owner, David Tepper, that you can't get, like, we don't know fully the contract details, but it was way more than most coaches get paid.
This buyout is gonna suck,
especially a first-time head coach. Right, I know. So they're sticking with him, and I think Baker Mayfield is an improvement in terms of quarterback play. And my guess is he tears up the Browns week 1 in his revenge game. And I like DJ Moore a lot. I like that Auburn defensive tackle, Derek Brown, that they have.
Yeah, he's good. And even though maybe he wasn't a huge need in that particular draft, he's a very good player.
J.C. Horn should be back this year.
Yes, oh my God, I wanted to see him play so badly.
Yeah, and that's a first-round pick who was out for the year last year. So hopefully they have an improved defense. And their defense was Brian Burns, someone I wanted the Giants to take that draft.
He's amazing.
So on paper, I actually like the Panthers talent-wise more than the Saints right now.
I especially on the defensive end, and especially like you said with CGJ getting traded. I actually think the Panthers might have a few more dynamic players than the Saints.
So I went back and forth, but I just couldn't trust the coaching staff in Carolina.
But also consider this too, because I agree with your assessment. And some people are saying for the audio medium, I will make sure to have these divisional rankings. I'll put them in the description or something like that. So or some doc or something, just so people have a shorthand to look at the rankings.
But Bucs, Saints, Panthers, Falcons,
but with the Panthers, there's two things. It's trusting Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy for a full season, which I don't. And
why would you?
And it's also the Baker aside, a gross mishandling of the quarterback situation, even aside from Baker. You bring Baker and Sam Darnold in. You keep rostering PJ Walker, again, Temple graduate, former Matt Rule coachee.
Yeah.
And you draft Matt Corral in a later round in this year's draft. Darnold gets injured. He's out for at least 8 to 10 weeks. Corral's out for the season. And so now PJ Walker's still the backup. You only have Baker as a starting caliber quarterback. And what? Are you going to have Cam Newton come back for the 4th revival of his Carolina career? There's just no logic in any of these moves.
Except this kind of like frenzied desire to get their quarterback so we can compete. Where honestly, I think it seems really more owner driven than it is a football person. And I don't think that Matt Rule has the NFL experience to understand how to stand up to that kind of thing. So like it's bad team building, even though they actually have some good pieces. And so another candidate to hopefully draft some sort of quarterback and maybe have some success there, because like I used to root for them a lot when Cam Newton was the quarterback before he revealed himself to be a misogynist. But you know, I hope the Panthers get it together. And the Falcons, I'm actually actively angry at how they're building their team. The idea that you would draft Drake London, a receiver, the year after you took another skill position player, and hey, Kyle Pitts, I get it, right? Generational talent. But you are a rebuilding team. These are the pieces, especially a receiver, where these guys are dimes a dozen these days. You can get really great receivers in the later rounds of the draft. You can get AJ Brown in the second round. You can get Chase Claypool in the second round. You can get I don't know, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf in the later round. Sky Moore is going to probably be pretty good for the Chiefs. I'm just like listing people. You can the depth at that position is great. The idea that a rebuilding team would take a receiver when their offensive line, their defense is terrible, their offensive line is in shambles, the quarterback position isn't figured out. It is bad team building. And I feel like I don't believe in Arthur Smith as a head coach. I don't believe in the way that they've constructed their roster. And I don't see any bright spots except for maybe Kyle Pitts and Drake London could be good. But you can't, the quarterback has to get the ball to those guys. And without an offensive line, they're not going to be able to do it. And like, maybe I'm overplaying how bad the offensive line is, but it's not good enough to ignore it in the draft or prioritize taking a receiver over that. And I don't believe in Mariota. So that's I think that they and the Bears are going to be in competition for worst team in the NFL.
And just as a little aside here, Arthur Smith, the Falcons head coach, is the scion of the Home Depot fortune and prominent Trump donors and Republican donors. So I also am not rooting for them for that reason as well.
Yeah. And I also Desmond Ridder, I understand that he had some success in college at Cincinnati. Does he look particularly talented? No. College wins are not NFL talent. It's not the same thing. And so that's why I kind of balk at like, it's CJ Stroud, it's Bryce Young, it's one of those guys. Tua Tagovailoa is a classic example of that kind of thinking going awry. You take a guy because of their physical gifts and not because of college win-loss record.
But the thing is, if I'm the Falcons, I would maybe just see if Mariota's bad. I don't think they're playing for a whole lot right now. I just see if Ridder is even worth it.
Yeah.
I'd put Ridder in for a few games just to see what he can do and see if the processing, which is, I think, part of the reason why they drafted him, that he's a smart guy and an accurate passer, if that actually holds up.